Happy Thursday. Um, Two things. One, if you noticed, I'm at my place downstairs. I'm outside. And I have flipped because I want you to see what I get to see when I come down here and have my morning time. Outside's really important for me. I realize I'm an outside person. Came across an article. I get a email with curated articles in there, and there was one in this past week. Talked about how outside is healthy for you, and it gave you three numbers that were really important: 25 and 20, 5 and 3. They said you should spend 20 hours a week just outside. That's yard work, cutting your grass, walking, sitting, or whatever. 5 hours a month, kind of secluded outside in a park, at the lake, someplace that you're more away from a lot of other people. And then 3 days a year where you are completely off the grid. No phone, camping, you're hiking where you can't get in contact with anyone. That one's tougher. Even though it's 3 days a week, it's a lot tougher. But I like outside because it's asymmetrical and it's not lines. Buildings are lines and angles and corners, and there's not a whole lot of originality. But outside are weird shapes and overlapping. And it's where I do my most creative thinking, is outside. And this is where I have been when I've been outside. And the question, I'm going to throw out a question and then we'll talk about it. The question is, why God? You sit outside and ask, why God? And my brain goes everywhere. The reason why I like the question, why God, is because I think the question, and this may sound insulting, I don't mean it to, I think the question, is there a God, is not an interesting question. Because what happens is we just fall into our own defensive position and we just present evidence either for, have you seen babies? Do you know how far the earth is from the sun? You understand how seasons work? And so we have developed a body of defense for our position. Well, there can't be a God. Have you seen evil and suffering? And so to me, is there a God isn't a very interesting question, but the question, why God? Why should there be a God? Why is there a God? Why would we want a God? I think is a much more profound question. Because it makes you ask, what is the role of God in my life? Not what can he do for me, what I expect from him, but what is the role that he plays? Is he something that gives me strength? Is he something that gives me assurance? Is he something that's solid and secure and dependable and that I can trust on? And I land in one place, and as we're moving toward the 4th of July, I feel like this, at least for me, is the answer to why God. When Jesus began his ministry, he went to the synagogue, and he was handed a scroll from the temple. And he read from Isaiah 61, and he kind of stated his platform about what his ministry would be about, to me, which is the why God question. And it's, I have come to set the captive free, to release the prisoner, to give sight to the blind. And so Jesus talked about this thing that he was going to do called liberation, a freedom. And we in the United States define freedom and understand freedom as the ability to do whatever I want, as long as it doesn't harm anybody. And I don't think that's a bad understanding of freedom. I kind of like that. I would choose this country over a lot of other countries. But I'm not sure from a spiritual sense, me being able to do whatever I want is a really life-giving understanding of freedom. When Jesus said he came to set the captives free and read this whole passage from Isaiah, I think his understanding was we constantly get ourselves stuck, or things happen to us out of our control that hold us down or put us in situations where we lose our freedom. We don't have any control over our own lives. other people do that. I think that's why the recognition by the Senate of Juneteenth, the emancipation of the slaves, becoming a national holiday is so important because it gives a deeper, richer understanding of freedom. More than me just being able to do whatever I want, but there's this understanding that I'm in bondage, that my life is out of my control, that either I have made choices that have gotten me stuck, or I'm living in a system or a structure that oppresses me, that holds me down. And so the celebration of Juneteenth, of the emancipation of slaves, and our understanding of what Jesus said, when I have come to set you free, is my answer to why God. Because I look at choices that I make, I look at decisions that I've made in my past, and how I've gotten myself stuck, and I realize that the most important thing that God can do for me is to release me from a culture that tries to oppress me, or to save me from my own poor choices and my own brokenness. When sin is described not as doing bad things, but as in selfish actions that break relationships, either with God or with others, I realize that's where bondage comes from. And so for me, the answer to the question why God is to free me from my own doing in a much more profound, deeper way than you find in society. So, just some random thoughts. I hope you can ask yourself the question, why God? And wrestle with, what is it in a desire to have a relationship with God that is life-giving? What in that relationship moves you toward the person that you want to become? I dare you to go inside and ask yourself the question that week. So, it's Thursday. This Sunday, we're going to continue our look at, is church still relevant? Can it thrive? Can it flourish? We're going to talk about the shared life together. There was a question posted Wednesday night that I hope you look at and answer. It's also Father's Day, where we celebrate the men in our life, whether they're biological or not, and how they have poured into us and made us who we are. We're going to have a celebration after the service. So come and hang out. It'll be inside, so you don't have to do this at 11 o'clock in the morning. Everything you need to know is online. We're posting information about the picnic on July 4th. Students are meeting, children are meeting, new faces. We're excited. Things are happening. So we hope that you join us. So all of that to say, have a great weekend, and we'll see you Sunday. Take care.